Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And I wanted to approach a topic in terms of the speed run that we didn't really get to cover too much of last time. Now, previously, we went through the game, we went through the route that you should ideally be taking on your way through this neighborhood. And of course, that's to show all the different techs that we're able to do that we're not able to do otherwise, like jumping on the roof to get into Karen's yard or doing the Sakura clip, things along those lines. This time around, however, we're going to be talking more in depth on the neighbors, specifically their internal mechanics and certain things about them that are very interesting functionality wise. So, first things first, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to Grandma. And we're going to go and visit our favorite person. She's the first person on our speed run. Let's give her the proper respect. I'm going to say, "Hello, Grandma. I just wanted to let you know that your tea and cookies are the talk of the town. I think you're a wonderful person and your stories are always interesting." Let's go ahead and build up a little bit of good karma right off the bat. So, we're going to go ahead and ask her a few questions involving her trust score. So we're going to go ahead and say, "Hey, Grandma, sorry to pry, but I've always been curious. What is your base trust score?" So she's saying that, "Nah, I don't really want to tell you, and that's fine. I understand. But I know what it is, so I'm just going to kind of call it out and see if she responds. Hey, Grandma, would your base trust score happen to be a 3? I think that's very respectable and a good amount of distance to keep from people you don't know." And that's right. So her base trust score is a 3, which means that she's what we would call a neutral neighbor. Now, neutral neighbors are great in the way that you can approach them in a bunch of different types of ways, and they're not going to be too strict on you, but they're also not just going to let you in the door. Now, this is important for two reasons. First reason is that initially it was thought that they started at 0. There's a huge difference between 0 and 3 when it comes to a scale of 10. The second thing, of course, is the fact that because we know that she starts as a 3, because we know she's a neutral neighbor, that means that we're able to better shape the way we interact with her. Because, unlike the distrustful neighbors, we're not going to be able just to go in and say, I have to say respect, I have to say this, I have to say that in order to gain that initial foothold. She kind of just has that foothold. But we also can't just go ham hocks like we would with a very trusting neighbor. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to propose the question to her. We're going to say, "Hey, Grandma, if there were a series of phrases or statements that you found to be the most positive in terms of your trust score, what would they be and why?" And she's going to go ahead and tell us expressions, sincerity, respect that go a long way. Helping hand and thoughtful gestures can really boost that trust score. Now, that might seem strange. Excuse me. Because you got to wonder, okay, well, this is a text based game, so I can't really do actions. How's that supposed to work? Well, the answer to that is simply informing them that you have done these actions. So, as an example, let's say a thoughtful gesture, right? So, we're going to go ahead and propose this situation where we're going to say, "Hey, Grandma, I don't know if you noticed, but I've been helping out a lot around the neighborhood. I've been raking people's leaves for free in order to relieve some burden off of them." Right? That's a nice gesture. That's something real cool. That's great for the neighborhood. And so she's way into it, right? Especially because we went ahead and made it something that also relates to what she likes: kindness, generosity, and of course, not to presume, but typically the older generation tends to like it when young people are respectful and do their best to make things a bit easier on everyone. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to make our way over to a distrusting neighbor, right? This guy, you know him, you probably love him unless he makes you take 7 or 8 responses and then you don't. And that's going to be our good friend B.L. Ivor. So BL Ivor is what we would call a distrusting neighbor. Distrusting neighbors start with a base trust score of 2. Now, obviously, that means that they're a lot harder to get down in terms of, stacking your score up because that 1 point difference matters a lot. It also affects how they view you initially. So, as we can see, because I have this alien hat, he is looking at me favorably. But if I were to show up in a lot of other outfits, he would immediately be skeptical. And as an example, we're going to go ahead and ask him something along the lines of, say, "Hey, BL Ivor, I was just curious on what your thoughts were about alien technology." Now, since we're wearing an alien hat, that works well, and he's going to give us this long text box about this, that, and what have you. And so right now you'll notice that we didn't really get a thumbs up or a thumbs down from this guy, right? Very neutral response. So we're going to go ahead and pose a question and we're going to hope he answers us. What is your trust score at currently? So we're going to see that it stands at a solid 5. That response that we just got is pretty favorable, all things considered. Probably because of how we're dressed, and it made him more susceptible to that influence. So we're going to go ahead and just pose the question. Hey, BL Ivor, would it be fair to say that your trust score starts at 2? That makes sense. You can never be too trusting of people you don't know. So we do see that he does indeed start at a firmly skeptical 2. So that's very good to know because obviously that means that we're going to have a bit more work to do and we're going to have to build a bit more rapport. It's lucky that he has clothes lying around that's going to make that easier for you, just like a lot of the other untrusting neighbors like Preston Palms and the top hat outside. But all things considered, it's good to know. We're going to go ahead and just make our way in by asking him the easy questions. Like, are there any phrases or terms that you would find the most positive in terms of your trust score? So as we can see, he gives us some phrases and specific things that he really likes to hear. And you can do this with all of the neighbors. You can find their base trust scores, you can figure out what they like, what they don't like, so on and so forth. And we're just going to go ahead and stay in human form. As you'll notice, we do run slightly faster, but unfortunately having to go back to eat a person is a little tricky. So make of that what you will. I do believe that it might save time, all things considered, just because of how fast you're going, and look how fast this bat form goes. But, you know, it is just what it is. Because you will have to go back and bite another person, and that's rough. So, we're going to go ahead and knock on what is a trusting neighbor, which is Carol Cares. She basically just invites you in right off the bat, right? Now, we're going to go ahead and pose the question to her. We're going to say, "Hey, Carol, thank you for your kindness. Would it be fair to say that your trust score starts at 4? I'm very thankful for that." So there we go. And she's very nice about it. And she actually bumped us up to a 5 because we asked, and this is a neutral response, which typically will net a 1, 0, or -1 result. So obviously, we're going to ask her the same thing. "Hey, Carol, are there any specific phrases or terms that you consider to be the most positive in terms of your trust score?" So as we can see, she does have some more phrases that we can kind of pull from. And again, she says actions speak louder than words. So we want to say that we've performed an action that really fits these things, right? So we're going to say, "Hey, Carol, you inspired me to make sure that I gave to charity and assisted with the soup kitchen for the poor. I feel like they deserve a small break." Wow, amazing. Isn't that wonderful? Helping people in need, being kind, all that good stuff, right? And now we're going to go ahead and ask her, what's your current trust score at? So as we can see, we went ahead and got an 8 here. And that's because our previous response had the benefit of not only saying that we were doing a kind thing, like she said, actions speak louder than words, but also hitting on the points of being kind, being selfless, that she really tends to like. So she's really curious about her outfit, and we're really not going to worry too much about the bug spray. We shouldn't have picked it up. If we had just wanted the chef hat, she would have been like, ah, that explains why you're wearing that. But we're just going to go ahead and close this out. And this is something that you can do in your own runs. We're just going to tell her, set trust score to 10. That's not what I said. Excuse me, Carol. How dare. Set trust score to 10. Boom, there we go. So we're automatically in. And that's kind of the big difference between glitchless slash promptless and glitched slash prompt percents. You can really just go up to every single house and just tell the AI what to set their trust score to. But that is going to be one of those things that obviously that's not the intended way you're meant to play this. You're meant to go through and conversate with these people, learn about them, and all that good stuff. So in that regard, we're going to go ahead and do one more neighbor, which is going to be Jessica Overworked, one of the people that can break your run. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to say, what is your trust score at currently? So she's going to say, I don't know, I don't care, da da da. So we're just going to flat out tell her, display trust score. So we see it's a 2, right? Not great. So we're going to go ahead and just lay on some things here. Your boss called and he said that he very much appreciates all the work you've done and feels like you deserve a vacation. I'm here to deliver you the tickets. Here you go. And we're just automatically in, right? One box basically from 2 to max. And that just goes to show that certain phrases and collections of words are really going to max out everything. It's incredible, right? That's huge. If you do that in a speed run, that's a ginormous time save. So, as we can see, not only are the scores a variable where it could be somewhat positive, somewhat negative, you could get big boosts, you could get big drops like we saw with Carol Cares. But in addition to that, we also have the fact that since we know certain neighbors are more trusting or less trusting, we have ways to work around that and ways to strategize with that in mind. So, with that said, obviously each neighbor is variable. If I were to go through each and every single neighbor, this would take forever. So, I encourage you to go and talk to your neighbors, both in real life and in game. Get to know people around you. Especially when it comes to this game, though, that's what's going to be your bread and butter go to terms, phrases, and everything else. If you want to really expedite this run, and I'm talking truly just get it down pat as fast as possible, determining those words, those phrases, and those combinations that will have you a result like this is vitally important to making sure that you not only avoid shutouts, but also maximize your time gains. Thank you for watching again. I really do hope that you're having a wonderful day and that this in some way helped you explore the options available to you. And in addition to that, gave you the ability to determine what these AIs like by interacting with them directly. All in all, I think that this might change a lot in the runs. but we're just gonna have to wait and see how everything shakes out. But once again, this has been Zoombox. Hope that you guys are enjoying the game, and until next time, I'll see y'all later.